Hey everybody, welcome to etrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the Rhino-Rack Vortex Aero Crossbars here on our 2021 Chevy Spark. Now with the Spark, guys, we're not going to have a lot of room inside our vehicle, so especially if you find yourself taking a lot of those weekend trips, or if you're looking to get yourself a longer road trip, it can behoove us to go ahead and grab ourselves a crossbar system. Now the Rhino-Rack here, going to be a great little system for ourselves, and it definitely doesn't take too much time to get up on there. It is a little finicky with the placement, just as a heads up, but we'll get that when we get to the installation. As you guys can see here today, this is going to be nice and secure on here for us, and this is going to allow us to get a host of different accessories on here. I can really see us taking advantage of either getting a cargo basket or a roof box up on here. Definitely going to be a lot of great ways to start expanding that cargo space, or if you just want to go ahead and start finding yourself a way of just getting those bikes to the trail. Hitches are kind of a pain to put on the Spark, so this can be a great little way of just getting all of our accessories here on our roof. Well, let's go ahead, take a closer look, start looking at the bars themselves. We are also using the 2500 series leg attachments, and of course the included fit kit to actually make sure it fits on our Spark. Make sure we are fitting this correctly at etrailer.com, make sure we are getting the right parts. But as you guys can see, gonna have a nice little matte black aluminum crossbar here today. Of course that aluminum's great because we don't have to worry about rust or corrosion. Gonna be holding itself up for the years to come. And one thing with it too, guys, you know, with aluminum you might be like, oh man, is it not gonna be weak, or is it gonna be weak? For us, it's not. As you guys are seeing, we have that nice little H-bar support going throughout the entirety of the bar, making sure it's nice and solid. Definitely gonna be holding up quite well to anything we need to throw at it. Of course, you guys saw those little plastic caps, very easy to use. You can get these guys locked as well with just the included key as well that turns it over. One thing with it though, it is plastic. It can be tampered with, so if you do want a better securance, they do have metal keys as well to go ahead and secure our crossbars. Now those just really help us with our accessories. As you guys can see, we are getting a locking system for our towers, so therefore we don't have to worry about that. But if we do want to go ahead and make sure that these towers can't be taken off, it can behoove us to go ahead and grab a better little locking system. However, with this being such a tool specific, it does do a pretty good job of deterrence for ourselves. Taking a closer look here at the top too, you are seeing the Vortex stripping that's in here. You can see that this allows us to quickly have a T-slot attachment for any of our accessories, and this Vortex strip is really easy to cut and get it in place. So if you do find yourself with semi-permanent accessories, it can really help to go ahead and get this guy cut correctly. Therefore, we can go ahead and make sure our entire channel is still filled. That's really going to reduce the wind we're going to hear as we go down the road, especially if we don't have it in there. It's going to whistle, it's going to be really annoying. So nice that we get that nice and cut exactly where we need it. Therefore, we can go ahead and combat all of that drag we might have. Not only do we have our nice little T-slot attachments on our aero bars, a lot of the accessories you guys are going to see usually have that aero design in mind when they are designing their clamping system. So I've always had the best luck with the aero bars, especially if you're looking at kayak carriers, even bike carriers. They just seem to do a really good job of fitting on there, and you usually don't need an adapter. So I do like those aero bars, especially you're getting that nice stylish look, and it does actually help combat wind drag as well. Again, cutting down that noise and that drag is really going to help us, especially with how high we are getting here on our Spark. Now, a couple dimensions to keep in mind though is going to be our clearance here between our roof and our bar to make sure we can fit our accessories. We shouldn't have any issues at all, as I can fit a whole hand and to the very top here. So let's go ahead and see exactly what we're working with. So from the bottom of our bar to the very end, looks like it's going to be putting us right under 3 inches there, so about 2 7/8 there to the very end. So definitely going to be plenty of spacing there. Don't think I'm going to have any accessories that can't fit for that underneath. And for our max height, let me go ahead and just put it to the back here, guys, just to get a little bit of an easier read for ourselves. Looks like it's going to be putting us right over 4.5 inches, so just a tad over 4.5. Definitely not adding too much height on here. Now, of course, the Spark already sits kind of low, so it's not going to be the most low profile look. However, you are going to be hard pressed to find that, as you are having to have these kind of rails sitting here. Since we don't have any raised or flush with ourselves today, we are having to use our naked roof kit, and that just leads you to having a little bit higher elements here on the side of your towers. For our installation, all we have to do is start setting out all our components. So as you guys can see here, this is actually our tower base here for ourselves today. Now we don't have our bars quite with us yet. All we want to go ahead and actually start getting our towers ready. So you can see that we have our foot pads here, our tower components, and then our clamp. It's actually going to allow us to get onto our Spark here today. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and remove our bolt that's been installed on our tower base already. Go Go ahead and spin that guy off. Then we can go ahead and look at our pads. Now these guys are going to be specific to whichever mount and whichever point you're going. So these guys are actually going to be our rear right pads. We already have our front ones on. So when you get your instructions, it's important to take a look at exactly how they're labeled. So M284 is going to be on our rear right, while our rear left is going to be M283, as you guys can see here on the other one we already have installed. So that is going to be important. And another thing to take note is exactly where this arrow is pointing. Since we're on the Spark here today, all these should be pointed towards the front of our vehicle. And therefore, since this is going to be on our rear right, it is going to be sitting there going forward, so you guys can see. So we also want our plastic pad, we want that arrow going to the outside, guys. So that's also going to be important. And just make sure you're following those directions, of course, that come in the pad, and you guys will find it in no time. But now that we have that pointed to the outside, this is going to be on our passenger side. That's being towards the front of our vehicle. So our inside element, our tower, needs to be pointed to the inside to make our other connection with our crossbar. So we simply take this, line it up, clamp it in. We're already good to go in there. So now we can go ahead, grab our extra bolt, set our clamp to be right there, and just thread on our bolt to start holding it. We're not going to go very far at all. We just don't want this falling out. That way it's ready to be installed. Now we want to go ahead and grab our Vortex bars. We want to go ahead and make sure we're in the right orientation. So taking a look on here, I'm actually going to have, it's kind of reversed for you guys. So this is going to be facing forward, especially if we're going to mount it on our car. So this is going to be our passenger side or our right rear. Well, this is going to be our driver side or our rear left. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down. So since we are going to be working on our right side here, another thing to do, of course, make sure you're removing your end caps. To do so, we are going to have just our included little plastic keys here. All we got to do is simply turn those to the unlock position. Then we can quickly remove those, of course, and have them ready to reinstall later. You've already gone ahead and gotten this side off. If you guys want to come over, take a closer look, we can see how we can get this installed. So we're going to start here with our top little plate. We are going to have this little T-channel slot ready kind of guy. We just want to simply loosen this guy up a little bit to allow ourselves to expose that top plate. So with a quick few turns of this guy, should be getting pretty loose enough. Let's go ahead and see if that's going to be enough for ourselves. So we just simply want to take this, of course, make sure that our clamp is going to be towards the outside, and we simply slot in our guy right here in the channel. Looks like I'm going to need just a little bit more loose. And of course you can't overdo it. We don't want it falling out, but therefore we have just enough there, as you guys can see. And we can start slotting this in. Now with this guy, it is kind of hard to get this right measurement. So what can be nice is to go ahead and give yourself a rough estimate of how far apart you want these guys to be spread. I've gone ahead and seen that I want about 33 inches, so I'm gonna kind of try to ballpark it in that area. So let's go ahead, get the other tower on, and start getting it lined up. So now I've gone ahead and tightened down my rear left here, and to do so, we just simply take this guy right here and come back in and tighten that positioning again, just like we were to loosen it. Now to do that though, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure we have that right distance. So I've gone ahead and got myself a rough estimate about 33 inches for our rear bars. So I'm simply gonna take my tape measure here and see that I'm sitting pretty close to right there. So now that we're kind of in that field, it can be very beneficial to just loosely tighten these down. That way it's not shifting too much, but still allowing us to shift our bar just a little bit. Basically just want to get this flush with the bar itself, and therefore we can still kind of go ahead and shift it around. So let's grab our bar and set it across our car. So we're going to go ahead and open up both of our doors and lay our crossbar across. And as you guys are going to see, these foot pads are specifically designed to fit right in between this channel. So it can behoove us to try to get that lined up. As you guys can see, my crossbar is going to be just a little bit too far here today. So let's go ahead and back off our towers just a little bit. So our placement of our rack is going to matter. So now that you guys seen how we can get these set across, we're not tightening it down quite yet because we're going to go ahead and show you exactly how we got this front one on. So placement does matter. What we want to do is take our little cross right here and going right across from center here. We're going for about 14 inches there, about 14 and 1/8 if you guys can, right to that very center from that center point. So that finds us our middle element for our front bar. Then to actually get our rear bar placed, we want to take from center again, all the way across, And we're shooting about 29.5 inches. So you guys can see we're pretty much perfect right there in the middle. And that's why we go ahead and give ourselves a little bit of an allowance too when we are setting up our bars, as this positioning can change. You guys can see how much thicker it's going to get down here, and as well as that can start affecting just your crossbar and getting your clamp set. So we haven't tightened everything down quite yet. Let's go ahead and make sure we can get this fully installed. One thing to take note with this fit kit, you can see how well these pads actually fit here in the channel. However, just by simply how this bracket is working, it really wants to pull off this whole tower to the side of the car. One way to combat that, of course, is to make sure your crossbars are fully cinched down. That can really help. That way it can't be pulling the entire structure. And really, honestly, going back and forth across your vehicle and tightening these down are gonna help. That way it's pulling it all in one system. That way you don't have one side getting too much pressure and pulling it off entirely. So you guys can see we're pretty set in here, but we're just gonna go ahead and start tightening down. Of course, double check your measurements going across, making sure you're at 29.5 inches from the front. And of course it can help too to go ahead and just kind of put down pressure on here. That way as it is cinching itself, it's gonna be pulling itself in that channel, not away from it. We're taking our included tool here. We just simply have to turn until our bar is going to be getting straight as we go across. So I'm pretty much right there already. As you guys can see, it's doing a good job getting nice and flat for ourselves, and we are secure. Let's go ahead, make sure we're secure on the other side, and I think we're almost in. So as you can see, we have this installed now. One thing to take note of, again, that little tip we said about kind of going back and forth is really going to help you get set in here. Another thing is too, guys, we ended up skidding this guy forward about 1 inch on this rear mount. As you guys can see, it just sits a little bit better. So you might have that same little issue. We really want these guys to be as flush as we can, so we can go ahead and give this a shake. As you guys can see, they're not going to be moving off of here, which is nice because we do want this to be secure because we don't want to lose our roof rack or our accessories as we go down the road. So now that we got that nice and cinched down, we just want to go ahead and take in our little front plate here. As you guys can see, we're just going to go ahead, put these little tabs in the side and walk it up and lock it. And we're going to go ahead and be nice and secure. Well, now that we have it installed, we can go ahead and start adding our rooftop accessories. Now with this guy, you do have 165 pounds of weight capacity. Let's make sure we are checking our vehicle's owner manual guide, make sure our roof can actually hold up to that as well. But I think we should do a pretty good job of getting almost everything we need up on here. Now, if you guys aren't quite liking this style, there also is a silver version. So if the matte black isn't quite to your liking, and I also might recommend if you're needing just a little bit more of an overhang here, especially if you're looking like at a kayak with a side assist loader, it could behoove us to go ahead and grab an extra longer crossbar. So instead of our 41 inch like we have here today, we could go up to that 46 inch. That way we could get a little bit of an overhang, which is going to be awesome for those kayak carriers or anything else we just need a little bit more extension for. Well guys, again, the Rhino-Rack Vortex bar system can be a great little way of really expanding your Chevy Spark to help you to do a lot of things. And you can't really beat actually having a lot of that cargo space. I highly recommend taking a look at a couple different accessories here at etrailer.com to go ahead and start outfitting our Spark. Well guys, I think that that's going to do it for our look at the Rhino-Rack Vortex Crossbar systems here on our 2021 Chevy Spark. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.